Hi and welcome to my channel Modern Modiste. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I make a hoodie. So this is part 2 of my how to make a sweatpants and hoodie set. In part 1 I made a pair of sweatpants, so go check that out if you didn't. And this is the hoodie video. So I already recorded this whole process with the hoodie you saw in that video, but I lost all the footage. It's alright because extra hoodies are always nice to have. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so I started by tracing my hoodie folded in half to make the pattern. I marked either side of the neckline, then traced around the shoulder and side. Then I marked where my waistband and hoodie seam fell, since the waistband will be cut separately. I pulled the sleeve back and traced the armhole, and marked fold where the pattern would be cut on the fold of the fabric. Then I cut it out, adding seam allowance to the entire perimeter except the side labeled fold. I measured the neckline from the fold to the top of the shoulder, not including seam allowance. This measurement will help me make sure I make the hood the right size. Next, I traced my hood by first folding it down like this to find the curved bottom edge of the hood. Then trace around the hoodie. I traced the hood to be a little bigger than the hood on my hoodie. When I measured the neckline earlier, it measured to be 6 inches. 6 times 2 is 12 inches, which is 1/2 of the neckline. So this bottom edge should measure to be 12 inches before seam allowance is added. It was a little short, so I added a couple inches to make it 12 inches. Then I added 1.5 inches to the front edge for the drawstring casing. I would suggest making a wider drawstring casing by at least 2 inches. I cut it out, adding seam allowance to all the other edges. I used a sewing pin to push holes into the fabric along my shoulder seam and traced around the rest of the sleeve. Then I turned the hoodie over and traced the other sleeve. I cut the sleeve pattern out, adding seam allowance to the entire perimeter. For the pocket, I laid the paper over half of the pocket and traced the pocket onto the paper. Then mark the center point. I cut out the pocket pattern, adding seam allowance to every side except the fold side. With the fabric folded in half and then in half again, I lined up my pattern on the fold and traced it onto my fabric using chalk. Then I cut it out and repeated the same process to cut out all my pattern pieces. Okay, so I cut out all the fabric. I did not cut out the waistband or the wristbands yet, but I usually do that last. I'm going to start by attaching my front pocket to the front. First, I'm going to use this special foot, and I'm going to overlock these raw edges so I can hem this and attach it to the front of my hoodie. overlocking the edges, I folded over the edge of the curved edges and hemmed with a single fold, and did the same with the short sides of the pocket. With my pockets centered on the front of my hoodie, I marked 1/2 inch on either side of the pocket from the top. I traced a line connecting those marks, then pinned my pocket on so it sat 1/2 inch over that line. I marked the line across the pocket fabric and sewed the pocket onto the hoodie along that line. I turned the pocket down so that it was facing the right way and top stitched along the top edge. I turned the pocket down so that it was facing the right way and top stitched along the top edge. Then sewed the 2 short sides down. Once the pocket was done, I attached the front and back right sides facing and sewed them together at the shoulders. I finished the raw edges with an overlock stitch. I aligned the center of the sleeve with the shoulder seam, right sides facing, and pinned the rest of the sleeve to the armhole. Then sew the sleeve on, overlock the raw edges, and repeat it with the other sleeve. Next, I lined up the sides and sleeves, pinned at the armpits, and sewed the sides closed from the armpit down the body and from the armpit down the sleeves. On the hood, I marked where my buttonholes will go, where my drawstrings will come out on either side. I ripped open the buttonholes, laid the 2 sides of the hood right sides facing, and sewed the 2 together along the curved edge of the hood. After sewing together, I overlocked the raw edge. I top stitched, then hemmed the front edge and folded and hemmed again to create the drawstring casing. I attached the hood to my hoodie by lining up the center back with the center back of the hood and pinning together right sides facing. Then pinning the rest of the hood to the rest of the neckline. I sewed the hood on with a zigzag stitch, then top stitched the seam down on the right side. For the waistband, I cut the length of my waist plus about 3 inches, and I cut that by 7 inches, which is the height I wanted my waistband to be plus seam allowance. I cut it on the fold though. For the wristband, I loosely measured my wrist and cut my wristbands to be my wrist measurement plus about 2 inches by 7 inches. I cut that on the fold as well. I folded the wristbands and waistbands in half and sewed along the height side. Then folded them in half again. I marked the center, front, back, and sides on the waistband and pinned to the center, front, back, and sides of my hoodie right sides facing. Then I pinned the wristband to the sleeve, lining up the side seams. I sewed the waistband on by stretching the waistband to match the length of the edge of my hoodie and sewed the two together with a zigzag stitch. And did the same thing for the wristbands. Last, I added my drawstring into the casing by attaching it to a safety pin and pulling it through. Okay, I'm all finished. Stringing in this string was not easy because I made the little tunnel for it very thin. Next time what I'll do is I'll make either a thicker tunnel if I don't have the string and I'm being impatient and want to sew it before I get the string, or I'll pin the string in before I sew this little tunnel. I'm calling it a tunnel. I may make myself a string and switch this one out for that, but it was so hard getting this in there. I don't know if I want to do that. So I ended up cutting a strip of fabric and making a matching drawstring. This is a little thick for the tunnel I made, so stringing it through is not easy, so I'm not switching it back or switching it to anything else. But yeah, that's how I make a hoodie from start to finish. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching. Bye.